All right, welcome Bears fans to another episode of the Chicago Bears Film Review presented by the Bear Report. I'm your host, Andrew Freeman, a writer and contributor for the Bear Report, and today I'll be going over the Bears' 27-24 victory in the preseason over the Tennessee Titans from this past Saturday. We've finally gotten through it. The preseason, it's over. Real football is just on the horizon, but that doesn't mean that there aren't things to take away from this game as we head into the regular season. So before getting into the meat of this thing here, I just want to briefly go over the game plan for today's video. Just like last week for the Bills game, I'm going to go through 10 key plays from this past Saturday's game, looking at some of the schemes, some of the stuff the Bears are doing schematically, some standout players in this one, and just some general things that stood out to me in this game as a whole. If you're new to this channel or haven't seen my previous film reviews for Bears preseason games, make sure to go check those out when done with this video. Also, make sure to check out some of the other video and film room work we have uploaded on this channel as well. And of course, if you like what we're doing here at the Bear Report YouTube channel and want to see more, make sure to give us a like and subscribe below. So without a further ado, let's get into this film here. And we'll start with our first play here, looking at Eddie Goldman. It was really good to see him back on the field for the first time in over a year. So it was really good to see Eddie Goldman back out here. And this is a good example of what Eddie Goldman brings in terms of what he can do in run defense here. So in this play here, this is on the first drive of the game, second play of the game. Bears on defense here. You can see Eddie Goldman playing the traditional nose tackle position in a 3-4 defense here. And I really like this play from Eddie Goldman here. What we're going to see here as we look at this play is he does a nice job in a one-on-one situation. Titans are running basic outside zone running. Eddie Goldman just does a nice job of stacking and shedding the offensive lineman here. And what this is really a good example of, and as I'll pause right here as we change the angle, this is a good example in what we call in terms of the Fangio style of run defense, playing a gap and a half. So in contrast to your typical two-gapping in terms of run defense, where you're going to be playing basically in between two gaps, and depending on which way the running back goes, you can shed the lineman to go in either gap. What basically is Eddie Goldman is trying to do here is he's going to take away one gap here and blow that gap up, but have the flexibility if the running back decides to cut back to shed his block and get back to that gap. Should the running back decide to cut back here, this is exactly what he does. This is a great example of that. And as we're going to see here, Eddie Goldman blows up that gap, and then he sees the running back cut back, so he sheds his guy, gets back, makes a tackle, finishes the play. I'll run it back one more time just so we get a good view of that. Good power at the line of scrimmage, gets in that gap, gets back to the play, and then finishes with the tackle. So overall, a nice job by Eddie Goldman right there. Really happy to see him back, and it's going to be really fun to see him and Akeem Hicks finally back out there again for this Bears defense. When those two are in the game, those two basically stop a run game by themselves. So to get Hicks and Goldman back in the interior, good stuff for the Bears defense. But speaking of something that's not good stuff here, this is from the first drive of the Bears offense, just coming after this 3-and-out that the Bears defense forced here. And this is the sack that Jermaine Ifedi gave up in this one. And, yeah, this is just not a great play from the offensive line in general. So we're going to see Damian Williams motions back into the backfield here, which signals that the Titans are giving you man coverage. So here's the concept that the Bears are trying to run here on offense. We're going to see at the top of the screen, I want you to focus up there. We're going to see wide receiver on the outside, so we're running a vertical route, and then there's going to be a sail concept from the slot wide receiver, basically an out route to the sideline right there. And then you have Horsted, the tight end, in the closest to the line of scrimmage over there. He's running a stop route in the middle of the field, basically just like basically a curl. On the bottom of the screen, you have Riley Ridley is the lone wide receiver. He's just running a basic short crossing route across the field. If it's zone coverage, he's going to stop in the middle of the field and find the open area in the zone. If it's man coverage, he's running all the way to the sideline. He's trying to outrun the defender in man coverage. So against man coverage, what I think Justin Fields is looking at here is I think he wants to go to the sail route, that corner route you see over there at the top of the screen. I think he's looking over there first. It's kind of like a one-on-one matchup to win over there before working his way back to either the spot route from Jesper Horsted in the middle of the field or the crosser by Riley Ridley in the middle of the field. But we'll see right here as the Titans – with their coverage package, they're running basic man-to-man coverage. Is what the Titans love to do. They love to run man-to-man coverage and test the wide receivers and tight ends to get open on them. And this time what they have here is the linebacker he's playing zone over the short middle of the field, basically like a robber here along the line of scrimmage, basically cutting down any of the crossers over the middle of the field. So he's basically going to take Riley Ridley on the crossing route out of the play. So that slot wide receiver running the sail route, he has to get open on this play. Otherwise, it doesn't work. But unfortunately, Justin Fields isn't even going to get a chance to get to that because Germain Ifedi, as we're going to see right here, just gets beat so badly. And you know, this is a good example of, I think, Germain Ifedi trying to work his way back into game form, game readiness here. You know, he's been out for most of training camp dealing with a hip injury. And you know, this is a concern. You know, this offensive line, it was a concern going into the season here. And this preseason has really proved it once again. But we're going to see right here, Germain Ifedi just gets beat right away. And it's just very unfortunate right there because I feel like if Germain Ifedi could have held up a little bit longer, Justin Fields might have been able to scramble out and make a play here because he was man coverage. He could have scrambled out of the pocket and gotten a first down with his legs because that entire right side of the field was wide open. But here's another angle of Germain Ifedi. And what I think happens here, he loses on the punch here. So as soon as he whiffs on the punch on the Titans edge rusher right here, the play was over. And Germain Ifedi doesn't have the greatest foot speed in the world, so once he loses on that punch, he doesn't have the ability to recover and match the edge rusher, and the play is basically just over from there. You see it right again. Whiffs right there on the punch. Let me back it up just a little bit. Right there. Gets phased a little bit, and then that's just way too easy. And we're not going to see any of the coverage, but I'll go back and show you the coverage a little bit. I want you to pay attention to the linebacker here as he takes away Riley Ridley on the crosser because I think that's where Justin Fields wants to get back to. But as you can see, that linebacker's taken away Riley Ridley on that crossing route. So there really isn't anything there for Justin Fields to go to here. So bad offensive line play, good coverage by the Titans, and that's what creates an easy 3-and-out for your offense. So we're going to see Germain Ifedi once again. Just not a good rep there from Ifedi. I thought the rest of the offensive line held up pretty well in this play, though. But that's going to be a concern for this group moving forward as we get to the regular season. They got to iron that stuff out as we move on here. Third play here. This is an example of the Bears, poor run blocking execution, but still getting positive yards due to running back play and or the scheme. So this is a 2nd and 10 play. The Bears are on their second drive of the game after stopping the Titans once again. And I thought this design of the play was pretty interesting. So what we have here is what I think this is I think this is an RPO to a bubble screen, essentially, where Justin Fields, he's going to be reading the slot cornerback covering the wide receiver who's going to be taking the screen here. So if the slot cornerback stays with the wide receiver, he's handing the ball off to the running back. If the quarterback decides to blitz or get involved in the run game, he's throwing that bubble screen out there and hopefully picking up an easy chunk of like 5 yards there with hopefully good blocking from the wide receivers on the perimeter over there. But what I found interesting was the blocking scheme that the Bears used on this play because it's kind of a pin-pull scheme mixed with like an outside zone principles right here. So what we're going to see here is Germain Ifedi, he's going to take out the defensive tackle on this play, block that guy down. James Daniels and Sam Mustipher are both pulling on this play. And what is going to happen here is James Daniels, he's going to take out the edge rusher, the defensive end right here on this play, and Mustipher is going to work his way to the second level and hopefully take out a linebacker or that cornerback that's sitting there in the box as well. So that's what I think is designed to happen, but unfortunately, it's not going to quite work out that way. And what ends up blowing this play up is a combination of two things here. For one, we're going to see right here right away, Cody Whitehair is a really tough block in this play. He has to get that defensive tackle that's lined up right on the nose on Sam Mustipher. It's a tough block to make, and basically Cody Whitehair just gets pushed all the way back into the backfield, and that basically stops any progress that Damian Williams, the running backs, can get here. Basically slows him down to a stall right there. And then after that, Sam Mustipher and Jesper Horsted have a miscommunication in terms of who they're blocking on this play. So I'll back it up in case you didn't see it. But basically, watch Sam Mustipher on this play. Jesper Horsted's going to take on the linebacker in this one, which leaves the cornerback unoccupied. And either Jesper Horsted made a mistake here going after the cornerback, or Sam Mustipher made a mistake not getting to that cornerback on the block right here. So they're going to take the same guy. They're going to both take the linebacker right here. That leaves the cornerback free to make the play on Damian Williams. And Williams, he give him credit, does a nice job of maximizing yardage and getting 4 yards. So it's still a decent run on paper here. But if those two things are corrected here in terms of Whitehair not getting blown up into the backfield here and basically getting blown right into the running back's lap, and Mustafa and Horsted, not going after the same guy, we're potentially looking at a big run here on second down. Unfortunately, it doesn't go that way, but this was not the only play where the Bears had issues running the ball. This was an issue throughout the game. I thought the first team offensive line just did not get much push in this one, and it looked like things were just not quite working for this team. They still have some things to work on. Remember, this is the first game that the Bears' first-team offensive line was working together completely 100% healthy. So it's going to take some time for them to get chemistry and get to be knowing each other as a unit, basically, going forward. So this is a fourth down play from later on in that drive. 4th and 1, I think everyone's probably seen this quite a bit. But I'm going to let this play right here on the broadcast copy before getting to the end zone angle. And, I mean, you can just see here, no push. Not everyone accounted for in the run game here. So this is the end zone angle. I'm going to back it up one more time. So here's what's going to destroy this play. I want you to pay attention to these two defensive linemen here shown across from Sam Mustipher and across from Jermaine Ifedi. What these two are going to do here is basically slant here, which basically blows this play up. And what I think the scheme is the Bears are running here is a basic inside zone. So inside zone, basically you're taking a step to the left and you're getting the guy in your area. And then if you don't have an assignment immediately, you're working your way to the second level. That's what I think the Bears are running here. It's tough to tell because they kind of mess this up right away. And the stunting that the Titans do does mess this up for them. So we see here the stunt here, the slanting that the Titans do on this play, messes with Mustipher. He gets kind of blown up on this play as the Titans defender gets into the backfield. And then James Daniels and Jermaine Ifedi, they're basically going to have a miscommunication here where they both take the same guy on this play. They're both taking the same defensive end here. That leaves the linebacker free to make the play. And again, as we see right here, this is a common thing for this Bears offensive line. They're not getting any push in the run game. They're not moving guys off the ball. It seems like the defensive line, no matter who they bring in here, the defensive line is always winning the battle at the line of scrimmage and getting pushed into the backfield on these run plays. And that's just not a good look right there. So this is something that they need to clean up going into the regular season. If they can't, this running game could be a bit of an issue because if they can't run the ball, look, whether they run the ball well or not is not going to make or break this season. I think what's going to make or break their offense is going to be what they get out of the quarterback position, but it can definitely help raise their floor of it as an offense if they can get better in the running game. Unfortunately, this one against the Titans was not very did not go well for them, did not put out a good showing for what they can do in the upcoming season here. But with that said, we'll get back to another positive right here. And this was a play where the Bears did not convert on this third down, but I thought it was a positive in terms of looking at Justin Fields and his progress and his process right here. So what the Bears have is they're going to be throwing an out route here on this play to Rodney Adams, I think it is, on the outside wide receiver in the bunch set at the top of the screen. And this is just a good example of good timing and good process by Justin Fields. Gets the top of his drop, throws the ball at the top of his drop, and he throws a nice ball to Rodney Adams right there. That was a perfect ball, I thought. Unfortunately, Rodney Adams has to come down with the catch. So we're going to see right here as Justin Fields takes the snap, gets the top of his drop, knows what he's going after, attacks the matchup, and does that right away. So again, the Titans, what are they running here? They're running man coverage on this play. So this is what the Titans, again, they're Mike Vrabel, the coach here for the Titans. He's a disciple of the Bill Belichick tree, so they love to run man coverage with their defensive backs here and test the wide receivers to get open. Rodney Adams does that. Justin Fields throws a nice ball on him. You just got to get 2 feet down. So you have to imagine if this is – let's say this is, Allen Robinson or Darnell Mooney. Are they going to make the catch here? I keep on bringing this up in all these film breakdowns because there are so many plays being left on the field where Justin Fields is doing the right thing and he's making impressive plays, but the wide receivers and receivers in general are just letting him down. And it's really, it's not making him look good on the stat sheet. The stat sheet can lie at times, I think, when it comes to Justin Fields in the preseason. He should be doing much better statistically if he had better receivers to throw to. And, I thought this was a good play from Justin Fields as a whole. Wide receivers has to come down with it on this one. So let's go back to the defensive side of the ball here for this next play. This is the pick 6 that the Bears had to get on the board here finally. And this is really all about Trevis Gipson on this play. So what the Bears are going to be doing on this play is they're blitzing a linebacker here, a 5-man pressure, and then it's a zone behind that. And Trevis Gipson, what he does, he's in a one-on-one matchup against the left tackle. He just beats him cleanly here. So it's a speed to rip move here, gets around the edge, and then Trey Roberson, who's just sitting there, is like, gift wraps right to him for an easy interception, easy touchdown. So here's another angle of it. We're going to see Trevis Gipson. He does a nice job of using his speed to threaten the edge, and then a nice job of using his bend to get around that. So here's a good angle of it. Good use of the rip move there to get around the left tackle, shed off the arm right there, make a nice play, affect the throw. That's really good stuff from Trevis Gipson. I'll back it up one more time to get another look at it. But Trevis Gipson's been really impressive. And if you pay attention to like Pro Football Focus, they have him rated as the #1 edge rusher in terms of pass rushing grade for the preseason. Now, take that with a little bit of a grain of salt just because, he's going up against a lot of backup tackles, which is probably what's juiced up his grade a little bit. But if Trevis Gipson can develop into a force as a rotational pass rusher here, that's going to be a good thing for this Bears pass rush overall. And we're going to see it again. I want you to pay attention to the rip move right here, the way he gets under the shoulder pads here and denies the left tackle the ability to get access to his shoulders right here to push him out of the play. Nice ability to bend around the edge right there. Really good stuff. And Trevis Gipson, he's a big physical guy, but to have that level of agility and bend, that's really impressive for him. Trevis Gipson, he's a very freakily athlete. He's got freakish talent to him as a pass rusher. And if he can maximize that here, the sky is the limit here for his potential as a pass rusher going forward. So really good stuff from Trevis Gipson. All right, this is the play I think everyone wants to cover here. This is the Justin Fields touchdown throw. One of the best plays of the preseason across the NFL here. Just ridiculous. Here's a good view of it before we get to the X's and O's of it. Just ridiculous throw on the move right there. And guess what? We have all 22. So we have all 22 here. So I can give you guys a detailed look at what the Bears are running here. So what the Bears are running here is we're going to see the wide receiver, the #3 wide receiver in the slot to the bottom of the screen. He's running a crossing route across the field to the corner of the end zone, essentially. I think that's the play. That's where Justin Fields wants to go on this one. We have Jesper Horsted at the bottom of the screen running a corner route or an out route to the sideline there. And then at the bottom of the screen, you got a seam from the wide receiver in the slot there, and then a little curl route at the bottom of the screen. But what we're going to end up seeing here is the Titans. They're running man coverage once again with a too high shell to start, but they're going to rotate into a single high coverage with the safety acting as a robber in the middle of the field. So single high coverage, middle of the field closed on this play. So if the middle of the field is closed on this play, the best spot to go to is that route from the #3 wide receiver in the slot running across the field. That's probably the best route to go to on this play. Unfortunately, we're going to see the offensive line break down again, and Justin Fields has to go out there and make a play. So we're going to let this run right here. So as we see, wide receiver working across the field right there. He's going to run, try to get past that robber safety in the middle of the field, and then usually once he clears that, you would throw that ball to the corner of the end zone and let him make a play. Unfortunately, we can already see Justin Fields. He's on the move. The play is already dead, broken down. He has to go out there and make a play. Now, I want to credit Jesper Horsted here. Watch him here as once he recognizes that the scramble drill is on, he goes up the field. So he does a nice job of adjusting to Justin Fields, getting up the field here, and basically just making another throwing window for Justin Fields to get the ball out here because Jesper Horsted is doing nothing, just sitting there. So nice job being aggressive, getting down the field. And let's get another end zone angle here to get a look at this throw because this throw is ridiculous. I mean, this is an example of Justin Fields, just his playmaking ability, his ability to go off script. We've seen it all preseason long, and this was a culmination of that. Jermaine Fetty gets beat off the line of scrimmage once again, and look at that throw. Into a tight window, has to adjust, back shoulder. And what I like from Justin Fields here is he is aggressive. He's not looking to throw the ball away. He's not looking to run out of bounds here. He's looking for a touchdown. And what he sees here, he sees the quarterback or the defensive back here is not looking to the ball here. So he knows that if he can throw that back shoulder, Jesper Horsted's got a nice chance to make a play on it. And good catch by Horsted. Great throw by Fields. Just a ridiculous play all around. Good stuff there from both of those guys. All right, moving on to the second half of this game. All the backups are in. Nick Foles is in at quarterback. So not as exciting stuff here, but I want you to take a look at Daz Newsome here. We haven't really talked about him. He's a 6th-round rookie wide receiver for this Bears team in this draft for the 2021 NFL draft. Hasn't done much in this preseason. He's dealt with some injuries. He's contributed as a punt returner, but hasn't had a lot of chances, not a lot of opportunities to really show out there. I thought this was a good example of Daz Newsome's ability to make guys miss, a good example of his quickness, but also a good example of his limitations as a player. So what the Bears are running here is they're running a basic bubble screen here. I think it's designed to be an RPO, but I'm not 100% sure on that, because what ends up messing this play up is there's kind of a bad snap here that causes Nick Foles to have to kind of readjust on the fly here. So he still gets ball to Daz Newsome, and then a nice little juke move right there. Really nice stuff. So here's another angle of that. Again, we see right there, it's not a great snap. Forces him to have to do a 360 move right there. You know, Nick Foles, he's a veteran quarterback in this league. He can adjust to things like this when they happen. Gets the ball out quick, and then whoop, really easy right there for Daz Newsome. Makes the guy look silly. Now, on the negative side for Daz Newsome, he also shows some of the limitations here, because Daz Newsome, he's quicker than fast. So he's not the most explosive wide receiver in the world. So he's a nice job of making that quick move, but not really explosive once he gets to that second level. So I thought that was a nice play by Daz Newsome, though. Chance for him to do something. I'm not sure if he's going to make the 53-man roster. I'm recording this episode before everything becomes official for that, especially for the Chicago Bears, because they're going to wait till the last minute to announce anything in regards to that. So, you know, Daz Newsome, whether he's on the 53-man roster or whether he's on the practice squad, showing what he can do in terms of getting the bubble screen, making a guy miss, getting a play, getting yards after the catch. Good stuff by Daz Newsome right there. Moving on here, this is Jesper Horsted's second touchdown of the game. You know, Jesper Horsted had 3 touchdowns in this one. Really good game for him. And what the Bears are running on this play, I'm going to diagram it up right here. So what we have is 2 tight ends to the bottom of the screener here. The first tight end, I think that's Scooter Harrington. He's running a spot route to the middle of the field. And then Jesper Horsted's going to act like he's going outside, but really he's running a slant route. And this is a quick timing pattern right here. So basically Nick Foles, if he gets man coverage or zone coverage right here, he's going to attack that window aggressively and quickly right here to hit Jesper Horsted on the slant. And this is just very good execution all around. Jesper Horsted does a nice job of getting separation and getting open on the slant route. Does a really nice job of selling the out route here. And then Nick Foles just does a nice job of timing this thing up, getting the ball out quickly, throwing an accurate dart in a tight window. So we're going to let it play right here. So again, look at Jesper Horsted. Good move right there. And then here's an angle of the throw by Nick Foles. Knows what he's seeing. Throws a dart. Nice play all around in the red zone. And this is the 3rd touchdown by Jesper Horsted for this last play right here. I didn't draw it up just because you can't really get a good angle of what we're seeing right here. But Jesper Horsted, this play, what essentially this is, the Bears are kind of running a play. I don't know if they're running play action or not. I don't think they are. But Jesper Horsted, he's basically running just a crosser across the field, an over route across the field. And Nick Foles, you know, the Titans are going to be running a blitz here against man coverage once again. Again, the Tennessee Titans, they love to run man coverage. This time they bring a blitz. Nick Foles does a nice job of getting this ball out on time and accurately to Jesper Horsted, who's going to make a ridiculous catch for this 3rd touchdown. Let's take a look at it. So Nick Foles, great accurate ball, and that's a great catch by Jesper Horsted. That's how you go out there and make the team. Plays like that are how you make this team. We're going to see his route run right here. Does a nice job of selling this route, gets enough separation, and then the speed to break away. Again, he's working against a lot of backups and 3rd stringers here. So is this translatable to the actual games on Sundays? I don't know. But Jesper Horsted, really nice play for him. He had himself a day in this one. And we're going to see Nick Foles here. This is a good example. This is what Nick Foles does. He's going to stand in there. He's going to take a hit. Nice job of throwing an accurate ball despite getting knocked down like that. So good stuff all around from this Bears offense from the 3rd stringers here on this play. So, yeah, that's what we got basically for this one. Not too much to break down here just because, you know, it's the last game of the preseason. And, you know, at this point, we're just getting ready for the regular season at this point. But, again, I thought there was some exciting stuff in this game as a whole. You know, what a game it was for Jesper Horsted, first of all. This will probably go down as the Jesper Horsted game. The more we get away from this thing here. 3 touchdowns in this game, over 100 yards receiving. Jesper Horsted, have yourself a day, man. He's really started to flash over the last couple of weeks, even going back to the practices. I was there in training camp at the practice where he had 5 touchdowns in that one practice, working with the first and second team guys. So Jesper Horsted, he's been making plays in practice. We'll see if he makes the team or not. At the time of this recording, again, it's nothing's official as of yet when it comes to the Bears and their 55 or 53-man roster, however you want to put it. He's going to be fighting with J.P. Holtz for that final roster spot, I think, at the tight end position, though. So we'll see what the Bears end up doing there. If he's on the roster at the time this releases, that's going to be – I think this game is going to be a good reason for that, because he definitely showed out that he has some potential as a playmaker with his ability as a receiver. But in terms of some other players that stood out for me in this game, Justin Fields, once again, obviously he had that ridiculous throw to end the first half in the 2-minute drill. But I thought other than that, he was solid. He looked efficient. He was getting the ball out on time for the most part. He's just looked really good in this preseason. I thought he had another solid game against the Titans here, just going out there and making plays. Trevis Gipson going to the defensive side of the ball. Again, he was a game wrecker, I thought, in the passing game as a pass rusher. I showed that one rush he had, but there were multiple rushes where he was beating the tackle right away off the edge, getting in the backfield, getting quick pressure. And again, he's probably going to be the 4th guy in the depth chart for this edge unit here for the Bears. So you got Khalil Mack, Robert Quinn, and Jeremiah Atuachu ahead of him on this pass rusher at the outside linebacker edge position for this team. It wouldn't be surprising at all to see Gibson, if he continues to do this in the actual games, if he starts to get a lot of playing time by the end of the year, because he's one of the guys that the Bears, they traded up for in last year's draft. They traded a future 4th-round pick to get him in the 5th round, and he always had a very high upside to work with here. If he can work out here at that edge position, that's going to go a long way for them, because Robert Quinn, that contract hasn't really worked out for the Bears so far, and if he can be a nice player for them, that would be nice for the Bears defense moving forward, a defense that needs to get younger and cheaper as we move forward with the way that their cap situation is working out right here. And then one last player I want to point out that I'm not sure if he's going to make the team or not, but I thought Christian Jones had a nice game at linebacker. He played a little bit of linebacker and edge in this game, so showing off that versatility. Christian Jones, he was here, before when Ryan Pace originally got his start here with the Bears, and he spent a couple of years with the Bears during the first couple of years of Ryan Pace's tenure. And he had that versatility as a guy that can play some edge and off-ball linebacker, even while when Ryan Pace was, originally here, John Foss was the coach, and we had all that going on. So Christian Jones, I thought he showed enough here to make the 53-man roster as a backup linebacker for this team. I think it's going to end up working out where you got Roquan, Dan Trevathan as a starter, Alec Ogletree as a primary backup, and then Christian Jones is kind of that versatile do-it-all, off-ball linebacker, edge rusher, because he played a little bit of both in the Tennessee Titans game. I thought he had a good game. He had over 10 tackles, got to the backfield a couple of times, made some nice plays in coverage. So I liked what I saw of Christian Jones in this one as well. In terms of general positives, as we head into the regular season, I'll go over some positives and negatives as we get into the regular season for this Bears team as a whole. The pass rush and run defense, they look pretty dominant so far from what we've seen, whether it be the first team, the second team, the backups too. The pass rush, the front seven in general, they have a very deep and talented front seven unit, and that's going to be the strength of this defense going into the year. They're going to be really good at that. They're going to stop the run with Eddie Goldman and Akeem Hicks and Khalil Mack up there. They're going to get after their quarterback, obviously with Khalil Mack, and a lot of depth in the pass rush room with Bilal Nichols going to a contract year. Mario Edwards Jr., he's a very good pass rusher in the interior. So they got some guys up front, and I think that's going to be a strength of this defense. They're going to be able to stop the run. They're going to be able to get after the quarterback. We'll get to the secondary a little bit later, but that's definitely going to be something that the Bears can rely on this year, I think. In terms of the offensive side of the ball, the running backs, I think they're going to be a good unit as long as they get good blocking in front of them. Running backs is a weird position because a lot of it is dependent on the blocking you get up front in terms of the actual production you get. One positive for the Bears running backs, though, Tariq Coney's probably not going to be playing early in the year. He's still recovering from that ACL injury, but I like what we have with David Montgomery and Damian Williams, both of those guys, as their 1-2 punch in the running back room. Both of them have the ability to be receivers out of the backfield. So that's a positive for this running back room. The versatility to where they can have any of those guys out there and both of those running backs can be 3-down options for this team moving forward. So I like what they have in the running back room. I think they're going to be a bit more explosive there, especially with Khalil Herbert as like their third string running back. So they got some more juice in that running back room, which is very good because I think they're going to want to run the ball a little bit more this year. It's what it seems like based off of the way they've been practicing in practice, what they've been going over, the type of scheme that they want to run here in the run game. I think they want to be more of a running team this year with Andy Dalton at quarterback. We'll see if they can execute on top of that, but that running back room is going to be a good one for them this year. If they struggle to run the ball, it's not going to be because of a lack of talent at the running back spot. That's definitely for sure. In terms of the last positive here for this team, I mean, Justin Fields, he looks like the real deal. He looks like the real deal here. And to me, it's only a matter of time before he plays. I know Andy Dalton's going to be the starter to start week 1. And it seems like the Bears, they have no intentions of playing Justin Fields at all this year, which is crazy to me. Like, why wouldn't you want Justin Fields out there? But in my opinion, he's going to force him to get on the field because he just can bring so much more to the table than what Andy Dalton can in terms of a scrambler, as a runner, his accuracy, his arm talent, the ability to make plays off schedule. Justin Fields just brings a lot to the table right now. I think he's ready to go. I think he's ready to play. I don't really have any concerns about him getting out there and starting in week 1, whether it be against Aaron Donald in that Rams pass rush or Myles Garrett against the Browns. Or the Bears are playing a lot of great pass rushes this year, so I don't want to use that as an excuse not to play Justin Fields. Like, I think he'd be able to handle it, even if he gets beaten up a little bit early on with this offensive line still struggling and still trying to get some chemistry together. But Justin Fields, he's been as advertised so far, and that's a huge positive, I think, moving forward. In terms of the negatives, I'm still not sold on this offensive line as a whole. They did not look good in this game against the Titans, and they lack talent in general, I think. And the offensive tackle position, Jason Peters, he looked pretty solid in this one, I thought, especially considering all the circumstances of being a 39-year-old offensive tackle, just got to camp, still not in game shape as of yet. I thought he looked decent in this one. If you can just give them average tackle play, I think that'll be a positive for this unit because Cody Whitehair's been pretty good in that left guard position as well. But I'm not sold on Sam Mustipher at center. He really hasn't impressed me all that much in the preseason. James Daniels, he's in a contract year, but how much can he really break out this year is the question. And then Ifedi did not look good at the right tackle position. And I know a lot of Bears fans on Twitter are trying to hype up Larry Boreham that, if Ifedi struggles, put Larry Boreham out there and see what he can do. Let's pump the brakes a little bit. Larry Boreham, I like his potential. I thought he was a good pick in the 5th round for the Bears. He offers a lot of potential as a swing tackle for this team, and maybe he can be a starter down the road. But from what I've seen, he's not ready yet. He's not ready. I see the traits. I see where the upside is. He should not be starting at all in 2021. I'm sorry. He's just not ready yet. So the offensive line, it's a concern for me still. If they can figure that out and just be average to slightly below average, I think that'll be good enough for this offense. But if they're a train wreck this year, like we've seen at times in this preseason, it's going to be a long year for this offense once again because a lot, especially with Andy Dalton at quarterback, a lot of what they can do in offense depends on that offensive line playing well. And if they're not there, that's going to be an issue. In terms of the defensive side of the ball, the secondary is still concerning as well. And that could negate what I talked about earlier with the pass rush being a huge positive. If the secondary is going to struggle again this year, it's going to be a long year for the defense here because that could very well ruin everything that they've invested up front with how little they've invested in the secondary. Jalen Johnson, he's a good quality corner. They have a good solid safety duo with Deshaun Gibson and Eddie Jackson. We'll see if Eddie Jackson can get back to playing at that blue chip elite level. I'm not sure if he's going to get there. It's looking more and more likely that 2018 season he had was just an outlier year and that he's just a good solid safety. But if Eddie Jackson can get closer to that level of play, I think that's going to go a long way. But I'm concerned about Kendall Vildor at the second cornerback spot, starting opposite Jalen Johnson. And then the slot position is just a mess right now. Duke Shelley has not impressed me at all in that slot role. Artie Burns, I don't know what to make of him there. And then Trey Roberson, he looked decent. He got some reps in the slot there. But again, he's going up against a bunch of backups in the Titans there. So this cornerback room is a concern. In terms of just some general question marks, in terms of not good, but not necessarily bad either, how long does Andy Dalton start at the beginning of the year? Does he get the first couple weeks of the year? Is he going to go the entire year, which I highly doubt. There's there's no doubt in my mind that Matt Nagy would prefer that Andy Dalton gets the entirety of the year because that's the quote-unquote plan. But I think eventually Dalton, this offense is going to eventually hit a rut against some of these better defenses here, and he's going to have to go Justin Fields at some point. So does Andy Dalton, is this a quick turnaround where he gets knocked out against the Rams or the Browns, against those pass rushes right there? Is this something where he lasts until the bye week? I don't know. So, we'll see how good Andy Dalton does play. I think they can be a competent offense if the offensive line is playing good enough. But if Andy Dalton has to go by himself with that offensive line, this offense is going to struggle once again. And one thing that could elevate Dalton would be if this wide receiver room can really break out this year. Obviously, we know that Allen Robinson, he's one of the 10 best wide receivers in the NFL, in my opinion. He's a stud. But can Darnell Mooney take that next step forward and be a true, legit impact number 2 wide receiver? And we know he's got the speed. We know he's got the quickness underneath. But can he be a complete wide receiver for this team? Because he's a good complement for Allen Robinson. But I'd like to see him be able to, turn that potential, and that speed into actual production this year. I know he got screwed over by bad quarterback play last year, but Darnell Mooney, I want to see him take that next step forward. And also Marquis Goodwin, he seems like he's going to be a lock to be the wide receiver 3. He brings a lot of speed to the table. How good is Goodwin going to be, and can he stay healthy is the main question for me. Because if they can get solid production out of those 3, that's going to go a long way. Because you got Komet at tight end, got the running backs and what they can do in the passing game. But if those wide receivers can be solid, I think, for this team, then I think that could help Dalton a little bit in the passing game. And then the last question mark I have is coaching. Can the offense finally gel? Matt Nagy's taking over playing calling duties once again. I'm not going to really judge his play calling or scheming in the preseason. I think that's really unfair because they're trying to evaluate as coaches what these players can do, and they're trying just to install some of the basic stuff they're doing. They're not really going to get into any scheming or game planning here. So I think criticizing Matt Nagy's play calling in the preseason is really unfair. I don't think the offense that they're running here in the preseason is going to be what it's going to look like in the regular season. Like, they're keeping things very vanilla. Based off of what I've seen in practices, this is a very vanilla, scaled-down version, I think, of what this offense is going to look like once it gets to the games that actually count. But on the defensive side, like, how good is Sean Desai in his first year as defensive coordinator? Because he's going to need to do some clever scheming to get this defensive backroom playing at a high level because they just don't have a lot of talent there. So I'm really interested to see how Desai is as a defensive coordinator here and what the dynamic will be on the offensive side of the ball with Matt Nagy getting the play calling news again. Those are my question marks for this team. Again, we're probably going to find out earlier than not, what the answers are to those questions because, they have a tough game against the Rams right away in week 1. Then you got the Browns in week 3. And then, after that, it doesn't get any easier. You got the Bucs coming up, you got the Packers coming up in week 6. Pittsburgh and Baltimore down the road around the bye week, San Francisco down the road. Like, it's a tough schedule this year. So we're going to find out a lot about this team, I think, early on, even though they got some easy games to work through in the early going. So anyway, I think that's going to wrap it up for me and the preseason as a whole here. I've had a lot of fun putting these together, and I'm hoping that with the regular season rolling around that we get even more interesting things to break down and talk about on here. Once again, if you're a fan of this video and the Bear Report on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe below. It really goes a long way. I want to thank everyone for tuning in, and until next time, bear down and have a great rest of your week, Bears fans.